Welcome to another episode of Home Visit with Tyler Siskey and the Associates. And as always, joined by my main man, DJ Elliot. DJ, how are we doing, my friend?
I tell you what, man, I'm licking my wounds. But I'm glad to be on today with you to get these picks picked so I can get back on top.
We all have those weeks. I have had those weeks, but guess what? This week was not one of them. I had a great weekend. Went 4-2, 4-2, and you know what? I know we kind of talked off the air about this the other day. I'm still ticked off about the two that I lost. All right, because I had the over in the Wake Forest UVA game Friday night. Didn't get the weekend off to a good start on Friday night. And UVA comes down the very first two possessions of the game and has the ball first and goal inside the 5 and got 3 points out of 2 possessions. So I know I told you I turned it off after that. I was like, I'm not hitting the over if you get 3 points out of 2 red zone, 2 goal-to-goal possessions. So, but anyways, irritated about that. And then my guys at Memphis had a 21-0 lead.
I saw
21-0 lead.
I saw that.
The UTSA comes back and gets them 31-28 at the end. I was feeling really good. Like when I saw that 21-0 lead, I was feeling really good, and it kept me from a perfect Saturday. But I know we don't pick NFL games on here. I know that, and this is not an NFL. But I do watch a little NFL, and I went 4-1 in the NFL on Sunday. So
that's impressive.
It was a good weekend. It was like an 8-3 weekend. So hey, good weekend.
The sun was shining on you this weekend. The sun was shining on you this one.
It is. I almost caught you. We're only separated by one game. Separated by one game.
That's good to know because I'm gonna have to buckle down. And I'm still in protest over the first week. That's not counting that one.
You know what we can do since our good friend Eddie is back in the world of coaching, and he's not here anymore to defend himself. We can go ahead and count. We can go ahead and throw the week 1 counters in there.
Okay.
And it's going to actually, and I'm being fair here because that actually gives you had a perfect weekend that week 0, correct?
That's right.
Okay, and I only lost 1. I was like 4-1 or where it was that first weekend. And
it's going to give me a 2-game edge.
I'm going to give you a 2-game edge, but I'm okay with that because at least it lets there's a difference when you look at like my record. I think it's like 11-13 now. At least it gives me a winning record to look forward to. Like I'm just a little because I am over 500 for the year, but. As I said, and I told everybody, I've seen some ball now, so I'm ready to. And we're gonna go over these picks. And what's scary is when we go over these picks with the fans, is you and I have a lot of agreements this week.
We do.
All the games we could have picked, and just
we do.
Excuse me. And just so the fans know, we don't go and say, hey, let's pick these 5 games. You can pick any game you want, and we have a lot of overlap this week. And it wasn't just in the games; it was a lot of agreements on the game. So.
That's right.
I'm feeling really good about what we got coming up. But before we get into what's coming up this coming week, which is the best week of college football in a while, so I'm excited about that. Let's talk a little bit about what happened last week. First, we got to start off with our guy at Ohio State. The fans, if y'all didn't see this, Kavon Pope, and I hope I'm saying the guy's name's right, Kavon Pope. Quits and shoots the deuces in the middle of the game.
Oh, I tell you what, man. All I can say is maybe he's like anybody that's at a job that they just can't take it anymore. You know what I mean? Or in a relationship where you just know that it's over and you just have that feeling of, you know what? Take this job and shove it. I'm out of here. This guy quits right there on the sideline. And the only reason that we know that he quit right there on the sideline is because he goes into the locker room and sends out a tweet that he's quitting. And that, he hates his team. No, he loves his teammates, but basically hates his coaches.
He had a funny spelling of the F word, right?
He did. He had a funny spell. He's trying to keep it classy. So, he had a funny spelling.
Left out the K, left out the K, added another C.
Exactly. Yeah. But good luck to my teammates. I love them. just hate the coaches. I guess he tried to go in when he wasn't supposed to. And the guy's sitting there going, come on, man, we're playing Akron. We're killing them. I should be able to go in at least. And the coach says, no, not yet. And he's like, I've had enough. Throws the gloves off into the locker room on Twitter. And just, you know what? He's had enough, I guess. So he's no longer on the team. And it'll be interesting to see how his career plays out.
I did not tell you this, but this just jogs this memory, a 20-year-old memory. This actually happened on a team that I coached. When I was at Northwestern State, my first year ever coaching, I was a GA, but I was coaching tight ends, right? We're playing at McNeese State. Our running back, Troy Summerall, quits in the middle of the game. There's no Twitter back then, thank goodness. He was a starter. He was a starting tailback. Okay. Yep. And he gets a hamstring or something. It was a pretty good one. He missed like 2 or 3 weeks. Okay. But in his absence, our backup running back, Jeremy Lofton, goes for like 250 a game. Okay. And this is back in the 21 personnel days when, you're dotting the I and you're, downhill running power and ISO and all that stuff. Well, he's averaging like 250 a game. He's on fire. Big running back, 225. Well, we're going to play at McNeese, and we roll out Jeremy Lofton because he's ran for like 790 yards or something in the last 3 games. Well, Troy's pissed because he's like, how can I lose my starting spot because I was hurt? And he's like, really, it wasn't anything you did. It was just the other guy's running. He's on fire right now. So yeah, he does. He throws. I will never forget it. Darren Drago was the running backs coach. I remember him getting on the headset and goes, guys, I'm in the box with Doug Roos was our offensive coordinator. Steve Roberts was the head coach, and he gets on the headset. He says, guys, we got a problem down here. I'm like, what? We just scored on the opening drive. We're like, what's going on? You know what? He's like, Troy just quit. I said, what do you mean quit? He goes, I won't say what he says, dropped a couple of F-bombs and everything else in there, but he goes, what do I mean he quit? He goes, look down to your right. And I look down the corner and I see Troy circling me, taking his stuff off and walking up the to go to the locker room. And he didn't ride back with the team, never saw or heard from him again. I know he tried to go, he was only a junior, so I think he went pro and played arena ball for a couple of years. Good player, great player. But, he just, that did happen. So I'm glad that happened because I haven't talked about that in 20 years. That should get a chapter in my book one day. But that was a
no doubt, man. It was a classic this week.
All right, and then one of the big topics last couple of days, really since this weekend, is we had 2 unusual firings in the coaching profession. And I'm going to start with, Chad Lunsford at Georgia Southern. It's by now, if you're listening to this, Georgia Southern head football coach was dismissed on Sunday. There has been, everybody's like, what are we doing? Georgia Southern's a very different place, and I'll get to that in a second. But at first I looked at it, and I'm like, it was very odd, okay? I was coaching at South Alabama. We actually coached against. Was his first game as a head coach. He replaced Tyson Summers in the middle of the season. Okay, and he was an assistant there, and all he did as a head coach in the Sun Belt. Okay, he went as 3 full years as a head coach in the Sun Belt. I'm going to repeat that, and I'm going to tell you why this is important. He went 10-3, he went 7-6, and he went 8-5. Okay, so this year hasn't started off great. They're 1-3. Well, they've lost to a team called ULL. They lost to them Saturday. A close game. It was 28-20. It went down to the end. Okay,
and they're a good team. Great team.
ULL's a great team. Okay,
right.
Really good team.
Mm-hmm.
They lost to a team called Arkansas 2 weeks ago. Okay, as you wake up now and you're listening to this podcast, people's opinion about Arkansas is completely different than what it was a week ago. Okay, these guys are for real. Okay, that's who they lost to 2 weeks ago, and then lost to FAU. Okay, FAU is a good team. They're going. They're not a terrible team. It's a good team, and so It's not like they went and lost to a bunch of people that can't play football. They've lost to good football teams. So he gets dismissed. At first, I was like, "What's going on?" But then, as you know, the tweet that has gone viral by now is the tweet of one of their players on top of the bus. Coming to the stadium, which for people that don't understand, Georgia Southern, very enriched in tradition. They will take buses to the stadium at their players, very kind of like Penn State does, dressed in shirts, and that's how they get to the stadium, and they do their little walk or whatever. That's their tradition. Well, one of the players was surfing the top of the bus, okay? A fan throws him a beer. He stone colds it, cracks it open, pounds the beer or whatever, getting into the moment, okay? So the kid made not the brightest decision, but it was a 22-year-old decision, something that kids make, getting caught up in the moment. The thing, DJ, and I know that you want to get back in the coaching profession and all that stuff. The thing, I guess, that bothers me a little bit about this is when the AD was asked, did that have anything to factor in the decision? He's like, well, he did what ADs do. Well, we take everything into account. We're evaluated day by day. And I've been here since April 1st of last year, and this is, a combination of things, everything from then. I'm like, wait a minute. They were 8-5 last year and won the bowl game. So it's not what's happened in the past. So it has to be the only thing it was embarrassing probably to some people or things like that. But firing the guy, and then this is after his big, he had a big deal on, a big social media post that went viral last week about how he's not judged by the game. Football is not what he's judged by, and that, he's a man of faith, and he's a man of character, which he is, and he's a great human being. I do have friends that are on the staff that I'm very close to and that I've worked with in the past. One guy I GA'd for. Another guy I GA'd for and worked for as he was a coordinator. So I know people on the staff, and I know what kind of person he is and how much they love and respect the guy. I get that. It's not like he told the guy to get on top of the bus and surf the bus and chug and smash a beer and shotgun a beer before the game. That's not what was said. It's hard to take. I don't know how much.
There's no way that he tolerated that. There's no way that he anyway would have accepted that and that was okay with him. Everybody knows that's in college football. It's not like that happened and he was like, yeah, good idea. Let's see how long this bus surf thing goes down. You know what I mean? That was something that a college age a kid, a decision that he made that he regrets. And he's already put a tweet out about how much he regrets it and how much the coaches condone it. It had nothing to do with the culture of his program, and it had nothing to do with him being okay with someone doing that. That's a fact.
Yeah,
and last week, let me just say this: last week, that was one of the most inspirational, viral answers to a question in a press conference for any football coach. So many coaches, that inspired them. What Chad Lunsford said in that press conference, and I think it was to the point of the question was, why are you still so positive? I think that's what I think that's what was the question that sparked that answer by Chad Lunsford. And what he said was spot on, that, I have a plan, I believe in it, and just because we lost doesn't mean I'm a terrible human, because, I'm not judging my life based off of wins and losses. It wasn't anything about him not being dedicated to Georgia Southern. I think he cleared that up with his next response. And I can't tell you how many coaches that were inspired by that message from that press conference, and then a week later to see him fired. That really hurt a lot of coaches.
Yeah, and then here's the thing is, and I get it, there's nothing wrong with having high expectations. I'm a big high expectation guy. Look, I actually thrive on it. I'm kind of sick and sadistic like that. I love high pressure situations. I love the grind. I love everything about it. Because it's like it gets my competitive juices flowing and gets me going. The thing that, from a Georgia Southern perspective, okay, is, and this isn't a Chad Lunsford thing. This has been going on for years. Okay, this is going back 20 years. Georgia Southern was an elite FCS program. Okay, I mean, they won national championships. You know, Irk Russell, famous coach, right there, won like 6 national championships, I think. Somebody can fact check me on that. I'm pretty sure that was a number.
The ham bone, right? Isn't that where the ham bone?
Yeah, correct. So they've been running triple option from those days. Okay,
right.
So when they made the move to FBS and they were getting ready, or the game changed. Okay, and when the game started changing, so I remember they had their first experiment. Okay, and they tried to spread it out. Okay, well that didn't, they didn't win as much as they wanted to win, and so they fired him and went back to triple option. Okay, so they go back to triple option, and then they get into, and that was right at the end of the FCS years. Well, then they get into FBS, and they were like, okay, you know what we're going to do? We're going to hire, so they got Willie Fritz in there. Okay, well, Willie, that's the one thing people don't know about Willie Fritz. That's why I think he is always he's one of the greatest coaches that nobody talks about. He's one playing every style of football that you can think of. I mean, he slings it around now to running the triple option not too long ago at Georgia Southern before he went to Tulane. He did it in D2. He's done it everywhere. He's done it at Sam Houston State. With all those guys, he is truly one doing everything you can possibly think of. But anyway, so they go to Tyson Summers. Tyson Summers is a good ball coach. Well, he tried to go, okay, we got to spread this out. We'll do an 11 personnel thing, all that stuff. Well, it didn't, they wasn't winning enough. I mean, just like the Georgia Tech, and that's why I always got to give credit to Georgia Tech. Like, they're seeing this thing through. They're going from the trip. They understand that personnel has to change and all that stuff, getting the right players in there, and they're seeing it through, and they're starting to see results. And, yeah, they're not winning as much, but they're coming. They're not far behind, and they're showing improvement every year. And with Tyson Summers, they literally in the middle of the season, they're like 0-5, whatever, they cut it. Okay, now we're going back to the triple option. So here comes Chad, who was on staff, 10-3, 7-6, 8-5, and it's like that standard's not good enough. Well, when you're in the Sun Belt, and I need fans that really have to understand this. You're going to play your 8 conference games, and those other 4 games that you play, 3 of those games you're going to be underdogs in. Okay, 2 for sure. Okay, 2 you're going to be huge underdogs. Okay, you're going to play big money games. Okay, you're going to play the Arkansas of the world, LSU's, Alabama's, all that stuff. Then that third game is usually a home and home, kind of like FAU. That's their one, or you'll go, South Alabama play a Southern Miss. You're going to play a team that's your equal, okay, or sometimes a little bit better, okay, but a tough game. And then you're going to play an FCS or a lower level that you can go win. But 3 of those games are going to be tough to win games. And so when you're winning 10 games, 8 games in a season, that's like being at Ole Miss and winning 10 or 11 games every year.
You're right.
Because at Ole Miss, you're going to play 4 games that you should win. And at worst, you're going to play 3 that you should win and 1 that's that iffy. You don't go play – that'd be like Ole Miss going and trying to play Georgia every week. Okay? It doesn't work like that. So that was stung me. And then here's the next thing is you can't say it's not about the guy on top of the roof, okay? He heard from his supporters, and the fire was coming down on him with the tradition and all that stuff. But who are you going to hire, okay? It's going to have to be a triple option guy, okay? Financially, which we're going to get into in a second about coaching changes, but financially is a whole different planet. You can't go pay $3 million to get a guy. Your pool of candidates is very small to begin with because you're going to run the triple option. They're not making the swap. They won't. They've tried that experiment twice, and it didn't work, okay? And it didn't work. It would have worked, but they don't have enough patience to let it work, okay? So I don't see that happening. So to be honest with you, I think the best option here is whoever they give the interim job to, I wouldn't be surprised because they're going to win games. They're a good football team. Don't be just shocked if the guy who gets the interim tag ends up being the head football coach. Do not be shocked.
They gave it to the corners coach, and I guess he's been a head high school coach.
He played there, right?
Yep, and he was a head high school coach in Atlanta. Yep, I can't think of his name right now.
What's today's date? I'm calling it. Whatever today's date is, I'm calling it. He's the head coach whenever they name a permanent head coach. Whatever today's date is, I'm calling it. So September, we're still in September 27th, is that right? Yep, I'm calling it September 27th. He's the next head coach.
Well, you make a good case for it, that's for sure.
All right, point 2. I don't know if you want to comment on this. I definitely will. Here's that we're firing all these coaches, right? Early in the season. Well, a year ago, we didn't have any money. And we're asking all these college coaches. I mean, how many college coaches around the country took pay cuts?
I know I did.
I mean, pay cuts. We're taking. I mean, it's not head coaches. It's head coaches, staff. Everybody's down. But all of a sudden, we got enough money to buy coaches out in week 2 and 3 and 4. I mean.
And all I can tell you is it was presented to me that we have no money. If you guys don't do this, we're going to have to fire your secretaries. And so I don't know what it was like at other universities, but that was how it was presented.
Yeah, I don't know. I find it very hard to believe that I don't know. That just, we can't have it both ways. And if we don't have money, we don't have money. But we're buying out some big contracts right now for when we don't have money. So that's unique. And UConn doesn't even play football last year, so I know they took a budget hit somewhere, and their coach is going to.
You're right.
I don't know. It is what it is. The next one for SEC land that was extremely surprising to me. It was I don't know if I'm just going to give you the inside. I'll give you the inside scoop of how I know things will operate. And DJ, I know you know about how things operate with this too. So Cornelius Williams was the wide receivers coach at Auburn. First-year staff, was fired after week 4. And everybody says it's because of poor performance. And I don't like – I've known Corn for a long time. I mean, he was a player at Hoover High School in Birmingham. I mean, he's a young guy. He's 43. So I remember him as a player. I mean, it makes me feel old. But, I mean, he's been at Troy for a long time, and I've had a lot – I graduated from Troy, and I still have a lot of people there. And he coached with some guys that we work with. He was with Vincent and those guys at UAB. Like, we know each other. We see each other on the road recruiting. I don't understand in week 4 without – and I'm not saying that there may – but I just don't – I've never seen an assistant coach. I've seen coordinators, you've seen that happen from time to time, but an assistant coach let go 4 weeks. He hasn't been there years now. This is 4 weeks into a season. A guy that you hired on your new staff that's not even a year old now, like, that doesn't make sense to me. The things don't add up the way things normally work.
Yeah, we may not know. I agree. I mean, obviously, we don't know all the insides about it, but that is not usually the case.
I just don't see it being for just because, I mean, like, now I can see this. I can see, and I've seen this happen before, which we probably all have. You've been in this business long enough, is you get in a staff meeting and there may be some chirping back and forth that led to an argument that led to this occurring. But just to everything be snow clouds and bunny rabbits, and all of a sudden, hey, the receivers are not the only problem on that football team right now. I can tell you that. I've watched them. Look, I grew up, and for people that don't know, I don't care telling everybody, I grew up a diehard Auburn fan. Went to Auburn, played at Auburn. I shouldn't say I played at Auburn. I watched at Auburn and practiced at Auburn. Okay, I was a walk-on there. Terrible player, but I have interest in the school. Okay. And so I watch every game, and the receivers, like, and I take this personal because I'm a receivers coach. Okay, I've coached position. Like, coaches don't go out there and say, you don't teach people to drop the football. You don't teach people to run the wrong routes. You don't teach people to bust assignments or miss blocking assignments. Coaches don't do that, and so. A coaching change, okay? So Eric, I can't even pronounce his name. He was at Alabama after I left, but he's been a West Coast guy. You may know him. But Eric, that was with him, was the receivers coach, and he was an analyst at Auburn, okay? But was his receivers coach and co-coordinator, and he'd been a coordinator at Fresno. Actually, was the interim head coach at Fresno for a little while. But he's been around. He's now the new receivers coach. There's no people think that some new receivers coach is coming here next week and they're going to perform better. The players are the players. Like, that's not going to change. The drops are going to be the drops. There's nothing he's going to do in 4 days' time or in 5 weeks' time that's going to make them play a lot better. It's receivers is a lot about the players, okay, just like all the positions. But when you have dudes at receivers, you're going to be a good coach. You know what I mean? It's like the wide receivers coach at Alabama. He probably had coached receivers before, but he looked like a genius when he had 4 first-round picks out there playing his top 4 receivers were first-round picks, you're going to be a daggum good coach. I mean, period. I mean, it's like, hey, man, that guy Amari Cooper, it's like Billy Napier when he was at Alabama, Amari Cooper was going to be Amari Cooper with Billy Napier or not. Now, Billy did a great job coaching him. He's a great coach, but he's still Amari Cooper. And guess what? Amari Cooper's got a new coach in the NFL, and he's still Amari Cooper. So, I don't know. That one bothered me a little bit because I just didn't make sense to me. It's like I would have picked 7 other coaches before I picked him. You know what I mean? Like there had to be something else. I don't get it. And here's the thing is we may never know. We probably will never know what really happened. But it was just an odd thing for me. So.
Well, I can tell you this: I'm always a lot better coach when I have better players. When I have good players, boy, I'm regarded as a big-time coach.
Yeah, I would always say when somebody make a good play, I'd be like, it's all coaching, baby. That's all coaching. It's all coaching. All right, you know what time it is? We're going to move on to this week, and we're going to talk about some games. And this is going to be easy for us to talk about because the games that we want to talk about, we're picking. Yep. So, guess who gets the lead off this week?
For the first time, I'm proud. He's finally grown up. He's made it into the winning category. Tyler Siskey teeing off at the number 1 tee for the first time in his pick'em season.
I have gained the box. I just eagled number 6. I'm ready. I've got the box.
I bogeyed. I had my first bogey of the round. So
double.
Double bogey. No, I've been shooting par. This one's
you've been shooting par, but you double bogeyed this week. But we're not even gonna talk about last week. I don't even want to do it to you.
Okay, I'm really surprised, but go ahead. I thought you were gonna. That was the best about Eddie when he was on. I'm just gonna stay humble, guys. Just gonna stay humble. I was 5-1.
Oh, he let us know about it every week.
Yeah, I'm just going to be humble. We're just going to be humble. Hey, I was on fire, man. I was 5-1.
I'm surprised.
The humility.
I'm surprised that we hadn't got a text that said, "Hey, if I was still picking, I'd be 6-0 by now."
Correct. Yeah.
But no, hey, we're heating up. I tell you, I'm feeling good. Like I've got my rhythm down. I've seen ball. This is the time. I told you there was going to be a moment that when I'm getting in my groove, and I've watched enough ball where I'm starting to get on it. So here we go. Pick number 1. It's a game that I will be attending. I'm going to start with that one. A game I am attending.
Okay.
If I got to explain it to people, the fans, they just don't know. I'm going to see a friend of mine, and I'm going to Athens, Georgia this weekend, and I am going to be up front and personal for the Georgia Bulldogs versus the Razorbacks. Okay.
All right. You're going to see it for yourself.
I'm going to see it for myself. And I'm going to get a lot. I mean, it's going to be fun. I get to get live and in person. Get a lot of, it's great to see things.
You're getting a live evaluation. We're going to get a live evaluation.
But here's where I'm going. The Georgia Bulldogs are 18.5-point favorites against Arkansas. I think this line will actually move down. I think Arkansas is like the fan favorite right now. I think a lot of people are going to bet that. I'm not. I'm taking the Dogs minus 18.5, and this is why. And I'm getting to where I'm starting to feel my groove. So I'm going to tell people why I'm picking it. And if they disagree with it, then pick the other way. But here's the deal. This is the way I look at it. All right, Arkansas with KJ Jefferson. He'll go. He is banged up, but he's going to go. They completely dominated and completely dominated game physicality against Texas A&M. They dominated it, okay, and took over the game. KJ Jefferson, as we talked about in the preseason, Arkansas is going to be as good as he can take them. He ran the ball very effectively. However, because of that, he's a big boy now. He is a big, pretty boy. He looks like Cam Newton. He is a big, pretty joker. But he only threw the ball, only attempted 15 passes, okay? They hit the one bomb to Treylon Burks, who's the most underrated receiver in the league. I mean, he's a beast. But they only attempted 15 passes. They're not going to be able to do that this week. They're not. I don't see them scoring. And Georgia's defense may be one of the best defenses ever in the history of college football. I mean, they are unbelievable. I don't see Arkansas scoring past 10, 14 points maybe. And if they do that, so basically what I'm asking myself is, can Georgia score 35 points? The answer is yes, they can. They're getting better on offense. They're getting players back and healthy, which is scary. You're going to see a lot more 12 personnel this week because they're getting the beast back. They're going to be a problem because they're getting better. They're already good on defense. They are getting much better because they're getting healthier on offense. And nobody talks about the running backs because, we got Tank Bigsby at Auburn. We got Jerrion Ely at Ole Miss. And, got Snoop Connor and Henry Parrish. Because Georgia's got like 10 dudes. Everybody they roll out there can play running back. You could make an argument. You really could. You could make an argument with the second, third, and fourth best running back in the SEC are all in the Georgia backfield. I'm going with the Georgia Bulldogs minus 18.5, live and in person. I'm Team Dogs. I got my gear ready to go. I had a special visitors last week. I'm ready to go. Let's go do it. Dogs, I will be there live and in person. Athens, Georgia, Saturday.
Well, I think we know whose hospitality you're getting for the game because you're definitely not going to be there with Arkansas tickets and Georgia gear.
No.
You know what I mean? So I think we have an idea.
But you could pick, though. I know, I worked with Kirby, Schumann, Trey Scott. I've worked with a bunch of people there. Matt Luke, I think I worked with before, too. He may be a guy that I may see him down there.
All right. Now, how about this? I got an interesting stat for you. Kirby and two of his former assistants are all 4-0. Mel Tucker, Sam Pittman, Kirby Smart.
We may be talking about the Kirby Smart tree before too long.
That's what I'm talking about. I mean, Kirby and two of his former assistants are all sitting after week 4, 4-0.
Yeah, but somebody else got to go this week, though.
That's the other interesting tidbit is it's a former assistant rolling into Georgia, to try to play him for first time ever. Is it going to be the Nick Saban problem where you can't beat Nick Saban if you're a former assistant, or
it's going to be one this week?
You know what I mean? Or is this going to be an issue that goes the other way? Where Kirby gets beat by a former assistant.
I do want to say this though before we leave this game and move on. If you're an Arkansas fan, do not be discouraged about what happens this weekend. Okay, Arkansas they're a complete team now. But I will tell you more later on when we get to a pick I know we're both picking. Georgia's the best football team in America, and I don't even think it's close.
Yeah, you know what?
Hot take.
That is not far off. I just am hard to say that Alabama's not better right now, but that is not far off. I can see you saying that.
Yeah, so, it's hard for me to say, but it is what it is.
Has Georgia played a team like Florida yet?
No.
Yeah, that's going to be the test. Because Alabama, until they played Florida, you would have said, I think if before the Florida week, you would have said, by far, Alabama's the best team in the country.
I wouldn't have said by far, but I would have. Here's why I'm saying what I'm saying is they play Clemson, okay, and then you're like look back and you're like, oh, but Clemson's good on defense too, okay.
Right.
But to me, the most impressive thing is how they take care of the games they're supposed to take care of. And how many teams that's a hard – people don't understand that. That's why you see what we're seeing going all over the country right now. That's a very hard thing to do. So, I don't know. I'm sold. So, all right, let's move on. Pick one. Who you got?
Pick one for me. The U of H Cougars, which I'm a graduate of. I got my master's at U of H, okay. Are going to Tulsa, which I used to coach at, okay. So this is hard for me because this is two former places that I used to work. And U of H is favored by 3.5, and I think they're going to win this game by more than 3.5.
I like that pick. DJ, I've seen all your picks. I like them, and I cannot argue with you about your picks today, which is scary.
Well, that is scary.
All right, pick number 2 for me, okay? And this is another one, okay? So you said, I'm a rider, right? Once I feel it's like, hey, look, if inside zone is hitting, why run outside zone? You find the weak spot and you pound it home until they stop it. Well, I have found a weak point. It's one that you did not agree with at first, but I think you're starting to come around a little bit. And that is the Wisconsin Badgers. I'm currently 2-0 against the Wisconsin Badgers. And just so everybody knows, and if you don't remember from last week, my lock and my money line was against the Wisconsin Badgers, and it wasn't even close.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Somehow the 1-3. Somehow I don't know if Wisconsin has naked pictures of somebody in Vegas that sets these lines. I don't know, but somehow, some way, the 1-3 Wisconsin Badgers are favorites against the undefeated Michigan Wolverines. I do have to preface this one. Michigan has always been like they're almost like that LSU and Oklahoma is to me, where they're almost dead to me, but they're not just yet. They're on life support, and so I'm giving them one more opportunity, DJ. I'm going with the Michigan Wolverines, and here's the crazy thing, okay? And if you're wagering this weekend, which do it responsibly, but if you are wagering this weekend, for some reason, taking the points, which is 1 right now. You can take Michigan +1, and your payback is like -105, okay? So your payback, but the money line, if you gave up the point, you actually get less money. So I'm just going with Vegas here. I don't have a problem with the money line, but if you bet the money line for some odd reason, you get less money back than if you take the point. So just take the point, and in case they lose 14-13, you push. So I'm taking Michigan +1, I guess is what we're saying. Michigan +1 for the money part, but I think they win the game outright. And I don't think it's close, and this is why. Graham Mertz, and I love Graham Mertz. I talk great about him on the podcast. He is extremely talented, and I think he's an NFL dream from a pro-style standpoint. He has to learn how to take care of the football. The difference in these big games, and you know this, DJ, you've coached in a bunch of them too, when you watch really good teams play against each other, which you're going to see against the Alabama game and you're going to see in the Georgia games, a lot of these games that are evenly matched comes down to a turnover here and there. And he turns the ball over way too much, and he doesn't take care of the football, and he starts pressing and doing things and getting out of the offense a little bit. So I'm taking Michigan on that factor alone, +1. I'm just, like I said, I don't know why Vegas hadn't jumped on this yet, but Michigan really in a landslide. All right, pick 2. Who you got there, DJ?
Pick 2 for me is Texas. At TCU, they're 4.5-point favorites, and I think that Texas will beat TCU by more than 4.5 points, and I have this as my lock. In case you didn't know, Texas has not punted the football in the last 2 weeks, has not sent their punt team out on the field in the last 2 weeks. Their punter has not stepped foot on the field since the Arkansas game.
He may not let her.
They are, they are rolling on offense. Now, granted, Rice is not at the caliber of Texas. Texas Tech, though, here's a Power 5 team. They've got Power 5 players, and I just think that Texas has really hit their stride, and I think they're better than a 4.5-point favorite against TCU.
I'm going to we have a very loyal listener to this podcast, a good friend of mine who is employed by TCU. I did send him a text today and said, please do not listen to the podcast this week because you're going to be upset with me. Because this is the scariest moment so far in home visit history. Because I am also going with my 3rd pick, the Texas Longhorns, -4.5. And guess what? It is also my lock. This Texas-Arkansas game, DJ, has a whole new meaning this week.
No doubt.
Okay?
No doubt. Right.
And here we go. Texas is not even ranked, cuz. They're not even ranked. And all they've done besides their Arkansas game is kick the piss out of everybody. Okay?
Yeah.
They beat, they have
ULL.
dominated every game that they've played. Okay?
Yeah.
Texas may run the table from here on out. I'm just saying, based on what I've seen in the Big 12, I'm not going to be surprised, like if we look up in December and we're having a serious conversation about Texas. Because the way all these conferences are going, and you start looking at how things are matching up and who's got to play who, this is a year that everybody's getting cannibalized, okay? And you're going to see I think you're going to see multiple one-loss teams in the playoff. And usually when you're in the Big 10 and you're in the Big 12 and Pac-12 and all that stuff, you have to be like the undefeated ACC, But look, ACC, what's happened there? They're torn apart. okay, with Clemson doing what they're doing. Ohio State through the whole Big Ten, and they're going to cannibalize each other. You know, I mean, Ohio State's not going to lose 6 games. You got Penn; they got to play Penn State. You know, Indiana's still in there, can throw monkey wrench and everything. Iowa's doing Iowa things. Big Ten's messed up, and we know the Pac-12. And Oregon's all they're doing is winning. They're not covering,
right,
which makes people mad, but they're winning. Okay,
right.
But they still got to play USC. They're still going to have to play UCLA. I mean, you're going to look up, and there's going to be some one-loss teams in Oklahoma. I don't think Oklahoma finishes the season undefeated. I don't. But we'll see. But I'm taking.
How about this? How about this? Talking about the ACC, the 2 undefeated teams in the ACC right now, okay, are Wake Forest and Boston College. How about that?
Yeah, good for them.
Yeah, good for them. Good for them.
But you know what it is. I mean, they're going to slip up and lose one here or there. I mean, it's going to be tough. It's going to be interesting to see what happens come playoff time. The committee is going to be earning their check this. And again, this is what's going to happen. In my opinion, they push back the expansion, right? Well, you're going to look up this year and you're going to have all these one-loss teams, and there's going to be more than ever before. Hey, let's get an expansion. It's going to catapult that into the off season. So look forward to that. All right,
settle it on the field.
Yep.
Settle it on the field.
Who you got?
Pick 3 for me is Cincinnati at Notre Dame, and Cincinnati is 2.5-point favorites, and this is my money line. I think Notre Dame is going to win this football game outright.
DJ, this is the second scariest moment in home visit history. I do want to let you know that even though in recent weeks I have been questioning my own abilities, had some confidence issues until last week.
And rightfully so. Rightfully so.
But what I have never missed this year, and I'm undefeated. And I said this last week, and you said I wouldn't say that because hey, you make your own luck, right? I am also taking, as my money line pick this week, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish at home against Cincinnati. I think, all kidding aside, with all that being said, I think look, Notre Dame, I believe this. I think Notre Dame is a team that plays up to their competition and down to their competition. I don't think they're not now that's tough when it comes to consistency, but when you're Notre Dame, okay, I mean, you're Notre Dame. There's this tradition, an expectation being good, and you are a undefeated top 10 underdog to a group of 5 school at your own stadium. You got to play with your chip on your shoulder. You got to come.
Oh, no doubt.
And that's what I'm taking. Like, I'm saying to all, like, Notre Dame, you did me good last week, Notre Dame. Okay, do me good this week. Like, you got to have a chip on your shoulder and like be a competitor, man. Like, that would piss me off so much. Like, I would come ready to knock the piss out of somebody for 60 minutes. Okay, like, you're gonna feel the pain. Like, it's an insult. Like, you're insulted as a human being, and it's like Vegas is challenging their manhood. And you either got 2 choices: you come out and you take care of business, or you go back in the corner and you take it. Okay, and I'm going with it. I'm going saying the Fighting Irish are coming out pissed off, and they dominate the game because of athletes.
Well, and you're making a good point. And you and I have had a lot of experience in the South. You know, the majority, maybe all of your career, and a big part of my career has been in the South. And what's always intrigued me is Notre Dame can go anywhere and take one of the best players out of your area. I can remember when I was at Florida State, they could come into Florida and grab a guy that we legitimately wanted. Not just a guy that maybe an offer was thrown out there,
right,
but was a guy that we wanted. They can go into and they'll beat you on him. They come into Florida and they could beat you on the kid. They can go into Georgia and I heard Kirby say it. Hey, when they played Notre Dame 2 years in a row, I remember him in the pregame interview saying, "Well, I like playing them because we battle them in recruiting all the time."
Yeah.
And he's not talking about recruits in Indiana. He's talking about recruits in Georgia.
Atlanta.
Yes, I mean, Notre Dame can go anywhere and get players. So you and I know the talent level that's at that place because of the recruiting battles that we've had with Notre Dame in our own backyards. I mean, it was amazing to me. I'm at Florida State, and I'm like, there was like 3 or 4 kids a year in Florida we could not beat Notre Dame on. You know, it was just the way it was. And
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
They have talent at the elite level. And if they put it together.
Yep. I'm also going with this one too now, is when they put it together, but you got to remember who's the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame right now in his first year.
Marcus Freeman. Yep.
Who came from?
Cincinnati.
He's going to know.
Same with. Yeah.
He's going to know.
He's going to know. He's going. You're exactly right. And from a motivation standpoint too. Yep. You know what I mean? And from a motivation standpoint for Brian Kelly. I mean, Brian Kelly went to Notre Dame from Cincinnati. You know what I mean? So I'm with you 100% on that. You and I, and that's why you're saying they play down to their level, because you and I know how good of players they have on their team.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So.
Yep. Here we go.
I agree with you on that pick.
All right, that's scary, man. That's 2. All right. So that is I have now picked 1, 2, 3, 4. So what is your 4th pick?
All right, my 4th pick is Baylor at Oklahoma State. Baylor is 3.5-point favorites. Or no, Oklahoma State is 3.5-point favorites, and I'm taking Baylor. I think Baylor will either win this game or keep it between 3.5. Yes. I mean, they're playing really good football. I think they're in stride too. I mean, just come off a win at Iowa State. Now, obviously, Iowa State has not played up to the potential that we all anticipated from them this year, but they're still a good team. And Baylor rolled into Ames, Iowa, which is not an easy place to play because it's unique. And they beat them, and they're running the football. I mean, they have a legit running attack. And I think that Baylor's going to keep this game within 3.5, if not win it.
Like that pick. The good football team's sneaky. Like nobody's talking about them. They're just winning games.
Right.
All right. How about this? Go ahead and pick your 5th pick. I'm going to defer because your last pick is going to be my 5th and 6th pick. I'll get to that in a second. So go ahead, your 5th pick. Who you got?
So Florida is at Kentucky, and Florida's 8.5-point favorites. And obviously, I'm going to let you guys know I'm biased. You know, I coached at Kentucky for 4 years. Was there when we took it over, and you know, we turned it around, and I was very proud of that. Love Lexington, love Mark, love Eddie. But I still think that Kentucky is going to keep this game within 8.5 points.
That one surprised me a little bit. I was surprised Vegas let that get to 2 scores.
Yeah, when it gets to 2 scores, that's when it will really turn your head. You know, and this one's a 2-score game. And, you know, Kentucky's gone down since Mark's been there. You know, the only team in the SEC East that Mark has not beaten is Georgia. I mean, Mark's gone down to the Swamp and beat Florida in the Swamp.
I remember that, yeah.
You know what I mean? Our second year there, we lost in double overtime at the Swamp. Okay, we lost in double overtime at the Swamp. Okay, I mean, Kentucky always plays Florida tight. I mean, always plays Florida tight.
And am I on hallucinogenics, or is like, since the history of time, it seems like to me that every time Florida goes to Kentucky, it's always a struggle, right? Isn't it like, am I correct? Like even back in the Spurs days.
No, year 3 when I was at Kentucky in year 3, we lost to Florida 14-7 at Kentucky. We lost to them 14-7. So every year that I was associated with Kentucky, and since I've left, that has been a tight ball game. A tight ball game. Even was that last year or the year before that? I think it was 2 years ago where Kyle Trask came in. Because
Felipe got hurt.
Felipe got hurt, and that was at Kentucky. Kentucky was winning when Felipe went out. Yep. And Kyle Trask comes in and wins them back and takes them on to victory. And that was at Kentucky. That game was at Kentucky. Yeah, so they always play them close. You know, always play them close.
I'm an honorary Big Blue Nation fan. I got, you know, especially my man Eddie now. I got my man John Summerall. I'm an honorary Big Blue Nation pulling for him. So.
Yeah, well, it's a good one to be a fan of. That's That's a good ball club.
All right. We saved this one for last. We got to talk about it. You know, it's been I will say this. I have broken this game down probably more than any game I've broken down since I've been coaching, since I quit coaching. I mean, I've watched game film. I mean, I'm in this one deep. Okay, I'm in this one deep. I feel so good about my picks on this that I wish I could go lock 2, lock 3. That's how good I feel about this pick. All right. So I will start with my 5th pick. The Ole Miss Rebels are going to Tuscaloosa on Saturday. Ole Miss is underdogs. Alabama is favored by 14.5 points. This line's moved a ton, up and down both ways. I am taking. We're going to lose like 900 listeners off this comment. All right. I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm really having I can't believe I'm about to say this. I really can't believe I'm about to say this. I am taking Ole Miss plus 14.5 points against the Crimson Tide. I have gone back and forth. I have looked. Are you shaking your head at me already before I even? I mean, I may even lose you on this pick. I may be doing a podcast by myself next week. I may even lose you. I honestly, here's where I'm at. Okay. 1, 2's got to stay healthy. And I'm going to let y'all know right now. If something happens to Matt Corral, knock on wood, because I love him, you might as well go ahead and turn the TV off. Okay. Ole Miss with Matt. Here's something that I don't think has been said in a long time. The best college football player in that game Saturday will not be wearing a Crimson Tide uniform. When was the last time that's been said?
Long time.
Matt Corral will be the best college football player on that field Saturday. I think the way he's playing right now, he's always been talented. That has never, from the day I saw him, I was like, I think I've said this on here before. He has arguably the most talent I've ever seen with my own eyes on a quarterback. Decision-making, maturity, which he came through. You know, he's a fiery guy, but he learned how to harness that. Decision-making, all that stuff. He is playing right now as well. I hated that they had a bye week. It was almost like you didn't want to have a bye week. Wish they could just keep rolling because of the rhythm he was in. Alabama's got some issues on defense from a schematic standpoint of what they're fixing to face. That's the truth. I will know. I told somebody this morning. I will know within the first drive of the game how Alabama's playing Ole Miss on defense. They have to if they want a chance to win, they have to get up and challenge the receivers. Okay, because if you sit back and try to play coverage against these guys, all you're doing is letting the band warm up a little bit before they actually play the fight song. They're going to score. They're going to drive down the field. Like somebody's band is going to play. And so instead of if you sit back and play coverage against these guys, you're going to get up 40, 50 points. That's what's going to happen. So why not get up and challenge them? Because here's the truth too. I know what the roster is at Ole Miss very well. Okay. If you line up and had a one-on-one contest between the Alabama DBs and the Ole Miss wide receivers, Alabama's DBs will win. Okay. So get up and challenge them. You have to do everything you can to take number 2, Matt Corral, out of the game. Okay? Get up. Let's play 2-man. Okay? Because your X's are better than their O's still. Okay? Except for number 2. He's the only one. But everywhere else, your X's are better than their O's. So take the one X out of the game, Matt Corral, and let's play 10 on 10. Let's play 10 on 10 and see what happens. That's where it's going to be. If he sits back, if he comes with the same game plan that he rolled out against Florida, it's going to be a long night to be a Crimson Tide fan. It will. It could get ugly because they're going to put so much pressure if you do that, scoring points and getting you out of your rhythm. Number 2.
Go ahead. Sorry. No, you go.
All right, you go.
I don't know what Coach Saban's game plan is going to be against Ole Miss. Okay, I have no idea. But I can tell you this. From what I know about following Alabama and Nick Saban from a college coach's standpoint, if there was one game that he was studying in the offseason to make sure that he had the right game plan, it was this one. So it's going to be interesting. All I'm going to tell you is it's going to be interesting. It's not one of those situations where he ran what he ran against Florida last week, and then they're going to try to tweak it a little bit and run it against this week. He's had this game plan set probably since the summer, and I wouldn't be surprised if he hasn't been practicing the calls that he's going to run this week during training camp, and he already knows what he's going to do because of what happened last year. That's just my personal opinion.
Well, you're not off base with that, and I'll say what I know. Okay, one, I haven't talked to him and asked him has he been watching Ole Miss film all season. When I do talk to him, it's not about that. Okay, but two is this. I'm talking about Coach Saban. All right, and I've said this on this podcast before. I know when I got there, okay, he had lost to Johnny Manziel and Texas A&M the year before. Okay, and all I know is every day that he went home. Okay, this guy's a machine, by the way. He would watch. Recruiting tape, and then he would always have us load up game film. He watched one game or one team the entire offseason, and that was Texas A&M. I don't know this to be fact because I haven't asked him, but I would find it hard to believe that one team that he watched all offseason wasn't Ole Miss. Point two that you just made about you wouldn't be surprised if he snuck some calls in there. Okay, he does that a lot. Okay, so what we would do during the bye week, and the players would never know it, right? So a bye week at Alabama, you think it's like regular practice or camp days and stuff like that. And so when you started making that transition to getting ready for game plan week, instead of using that extra week, he would script. It was literally like you had a day. The kids had no idea. Okay, players have no idea. But you would break off into scout teams, and hey, today is an Ole Miss day, or today is a Texas A&M day. The coaches knew that, players didn't. So you would script and card and work all your calls out, okay, and communication, your checks and things like that, and get it on tape so he could teach off of it. Guarantee you he's done that at some point in time. Hasn't had a bye week yet, but guarantee you he's done it at some point in time. And so it happens. So I'm with you. I don't know like that. I just can't believe I did that. We just lost 900 listeners. So, and look, I call a spade a spade. I think it's, and all kidding aside, from a gambling standpoint, it's 14.5 points. Okay, this game could be a 21-point game, and Ole Miss, because look, Ole Miss is going to try to score every time. I mean, Lane wants to score 60. Like, I don't even think he cares how many the defense gives up if he can score 60 against Nick. I mean, I really don't think he would be just as happy winning the game as he would. I really think Lane would rather lose 69-70 to Alabama than he would win 3-0. I think he would be more happy with a 69-70 loss. But and Lane is so unique that wouldn't surprise me. You know what I mean? I don't. How about the two? Can we just say this? How about the unique head coaches that we have in the state of Mississippi? You got Lane Kiffin and Mike Leach. I mean, if you don't have a media's dream in that state right now, I mean, those people in Mississippi that are covering those teams, this is like a dream for them. The things that those two guys would say in press conferences. Yep, they love it. They love it. All right, Eddie. I said I called you. We're missing Eddie already. All right, DJ. Your last pick. Who you got? All right, my last pick, okay? My last pick is the same game, okay? My last pick is the exact same game, but I'm not messing with the spread, okay? I'm messing with the over. It's at 77.5, and I think that more than 77.5 points will be scored in this football game. Guess what, DJ? Do you know what my last pick is? I do not. It is I'm going double down. The Ole Miss. I mean, I've studied it. I haven't studied a game like this since like 2019. The Ole Miss Alabama over at 77.5. DJ, wow. They could put 90 on this thing. I don't care what it goes to. Okay, because this is why I've been really debating about this back and forth. Okay, and this is where I could be wrong. I'm going to tell you where I can be wrong, but I'm going to tell you why I came to what I came to. Okay, Ole Miss's offense right now is clicking like an offense that hasn't been seen in a long time, okay? I don't think it matters who they play, okay? I just think they're going to score. He scored, and it wasn't like – here's what people don't understand. It wasn't like Nick didn't know what was coming last year either, and they scored at will last year too. And it became this scoring match, okay? Now, the difference is last year, and this is – and somebody could please fact check me, but it was like 23 or 33. I don't know how many yards it was. Alabama literally had almost as many total yards as humanly possible. Like, I think if they played against air, they only would have gained another 33 yards or 23 yards or something. It was some crazy stat. I don't think that happens again, but I still think they score at will. They still got dudes, okay? I want to see this new odd hybrid 6DB dime odd package that everybody likes to Iowa States and Arkansas and all these people. I want to see that stop freaking Brian Robinson. That's what I want to see. Okay, I'm good seeing it stop Tulane. I'm good seeing it stop Austin Peay. Louisville figured it out a little bit in the second half. They did score every time they touched the football. I want to see it stop Brian Robinson down here. I want to see it stop Royale Williams. I want to see it stop the Boots and Bryce Young. I want to see them cover somebody because they're going to have to cover people now. I think that's another big difference that people don't realize is those DBs that are back there trying to run fit are going to have to now be covering receivers. And so there's going to be some play action bombs hit by Alabama on Saturday. Okay. Number two reason that I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, and we talked about this last week. Lane is going to play as fast as humanly possible. The only problem with that is Alabama's going to have the ball more. Okay, they're going to get more chances too. The amount of possessions, there's going to be more possessions in this game than a normal game, because I really don't see Nick going, okay, we're going to slow it down in tempo. I don't see Nick doing that. I think he thinks he can score. He's going to score. I think he's turned around and gone to the dark side on that, but. I just think this is a high-scoring game. And I've said this all along because I went back in the fourth in this. If I'm wrong, here's where I'm wrong, DJ. If Alabama solves the mystery, because they're talented enough to do it, if they solve the mystery of Ole Miss's offense and start slowing them down, Alabama could boat race them. They could blow them out. But I only see two different turns in this game here. It's either a shootout. I'm talking about a shootout of all shootouts, which is where I'm leaning, and Ole Miss wins that game. I think they even win the game. I'll talk about that in a second. Ole Miss has a chance to win the game. Or Alabama solves the mystery and just boat races them. I don't think there's any in between, as crazy as that sounds.
It's definitely going to be probably the most watched game this week. I mean, it is. It really is hyped up because of the score last year, and of course with Lane being a former Alabama assistant, and and Nick never losing to his former assistants, and I mean this game is going to be one that all eyes are going to be tuned into for sure.
And then so I kind of let the cat out of the bag there, and we'll wrap it up on this because I promised Raquel we'd try to keep it shorter this week. It's not if you are a gambling man. If you're listening to this and you're a gambling man. It's not if you want to really, really gamble. It's not out of the realm of possibilities to play sprinkle just a little bit, little fairy dust on the Ole Miss money line on this game. Like if they win the game, DJ, I'm not going to be surprised. I'm taking the points because it's the safest thing. I'm not going to be surprised. Just saying. I can't believe I just said that.
I know. And you know what? I think
Apple
after last week, you're feeling confident. That's the deal. You got up onto a winning record last week, and you're feeling confident. I mean, you're going out there on a limb this week.
Apple may cancel our podcast.
You go for it.
I just said that. They may. Apple may cancel our podcast. I can't believe I just said that. I call a spade a spade. I can't believe I just said that. Like I don't even know because I've always been the guy that's like everybody's like, oh, it's always the week Alabama's going to lose. It's always the week. I'm beside myself. Like. My mom and dad, my dad, when he hears this, my dad may not talk to me for 2 weeks.
I know. I can only imagine.
Because my dad's die hard now.
I can only imagine.
Alabama fan. So my mom, she was an Auburn fan, so she doesn't care. But my dad may not talk to me for 2 weeks. I can't believe I just said that. So, hey, before we go, we left something out earlier. I wanted to, we'll wrap it up on this. First of all, Hugh, we skipped it over when we were talking about last week, and I wanted to say this, debated if I wanted to talk about it or not, but they're part of our family. Whether people, a lot of people don't even realize it, but kind of part of my friend, very close friend, family. Love the whole family to death. Is the Rodriguez family with Rich Rod, who I've known for not long enough because I love him to death, and then Raquel, who works with us here. First of all, they went out and got a big win. They're 2-1 down there in Fun Row, and they're getting that thing. And fans are excited. Winning is contagious, baby. If that's not the definition of winning is contagious, it's contagious. They went like years without winning. They've won 2 weeks in a row. So, first of all, hats off to that. And then the injury with Rhett, that's Rich Rod's son, who's a quarterback, got hurt early in the game and played through it tough as nails. I don't care what they say. I mean, that he may be the toughest human being on the planet. And then going through, being hospitalized, and we're not going to go into detail about everything, but just prayers out for his recovery. I know he's doing well, that he is doing better, and hopefully by the time this podcast gets aired, everything is all good and great. But I know we're having some positive signs, getting better. But I know we have a good time and joke and all that stuff. But it makes you, it's hard when you know your friends. It's like we've always said 100 times. It's like it's always, nothing's ever serious unless it's your kid, or unless it's your family or whatever, and it gets real serious and everything. But just praying for those guys and their whole family, and Rhett for his recovery, and I think he's doing better. And hopefully by the time this comes out, we have some really good news. But they all mean Rich and Raquel and Rita, very, very, very close. Especially Raquel being here, got to know her a lot, and it's just you want what's best for their health, and that's a scary deal, man. So I'm glad things are turning around, going the other direction, because love them to death. So can't wish them but nothing for the best. So
well said, Tyler. Well said.
Well, we'll end on that, and then we'll find out next week. We'll probably 900 listeners light from Alabama. No downloads from Tuscaloosa this week. Or Birmingham. They're just going to turn us off and go somewhere else. But if Ole Miss wins, we may pick up some in Mississippi. Who knows? But we're really excited about those games. I think it's a great week for college football, man, and we're excited. And we'll know next week when we come on. We're gonna be gloating or crying, one or the other. So we'll figure out next week.
No, we're going to be on the same team, so we'll be rooting for the same games.
That's it. Well, I appreciate you, DJ, and as always, until next time, take care.